All right, well, welcome to another market update, monthly edition. We're going to look at, it is currently April, but we'll look at statistics from last month as far as home sales and those types of things. And we'll kind of do a brief update on the mortgage market, though. Honestly, Josh and I were talking. I said we don't want to get. There's not a whole lot of data to go over this time, just because it's that everything's just kind of maintaining at the moment. Um, so we'll just go ahead and get through it, and hopefully get you all a shorter video this month. How about that?
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Well, I'll let Josh introduce himself before he gets into the mortgage market update.
Hey guys, it's Josh Pruitt with Sierra Pacific Mortgage, located here in Johnson City, Tennessee, and looking forward to going through just a little bit of information with you guys today. So, where are the rates at today? So that's the big $1 million question. What are rates doing? So, as you can see, 30-year fixed conventional right around a 6.52%. That is the national rate. 15-year fixed is right around 5.93. 30-year jumbo, 6%, 30-year VA around 6.25, FHA around 6.17, and there you see a 5 and 1 arm around 6.7. So as you can see, rates have been coming down just a little bit. They've been doing the same thing like a teeter-totter since the first of this year. They've been up a little bit, down a little bit, up a little bit, down a little bit, and so we've been kind of going back and forth. And so the good news is that we're seeing a little bit of longevity of where we're kind of just maintaining, as Jay said, we're just kind of plateaued right here, hanging in this spot the whole time. So, just depending on when things hit, you might see an uptick in the rates and then see them come back down a day or two later. So it's good. That's good news, right? It's not on a increase path as what we have seen since last summer around June and July. Um, so as you can see, mortgage rate projections. So quarter one, Fannie Mae was saying around a 6.4. The NAR was saying around a 6.10. Average of all three is around a 6.23. So here's the thing: is we're not quite there on those rate projections. But if you do looking at FHA, we're around a 6.1, right? 6.17. So needless to say, we're kind of there. It just depends on the loan type that you're looking at, right? So not too far off. We'll see if these projections actually hold out. I think it would be awesome if we see ourselves down in the fives. I wouldn't hold my breath on that. I basically would just say, you know what, we're probably in this environment between, looking at FHA, around a 5.8, 6.1, up into 6.8, 6.9, roughly in that market range. Just keep in mind that everything is looking at the average for the national rate, plus your credit score, plus the loan amount, loan type, how much you're putting down. There's so many factors that go into that. So it's not just what the national average is or what the national rate is that you qualify for that. So just keep that in mind. So, but all good news in the rate world. So.
Yeah, and I think that the general consensus is that we'll probably still see rates drop throughout this year. I just don't think anybody has any idea anymore what that drop's going to be. Is it going to be a half
Right.
percent or,
Right. Right.
a quarter of a percent, a fifth of a percent? I mean, nobody really knows.
Right. But it's good to see some things finally leveling out. That's
Yeah.
kind of the key is leveling out and getting back to normal is what we're shooting for. So.
Mhm. Now, we don't have a slide for this, but what have you seen as far as mortgage applications at your all's office?
Yeah, so we've been seeing, so basically buyer demand is up. So buyers are coming back into the market. I think things have settled down a little bit. Yes, home appreciation, which I know you're going to talk about, is still there. And, rates are kind of flatlining and coming down a little bit. So the positive on that is it's the buyer sentiment is up, right? So people are now more comfortable with applying for a loan and seeing what they qualify for and starting that process. So we are seeing an increase in our office, and I think everywhere we're seeing applications increase and people becoming more interested in purchasing again. So definitely a positive.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and look at the real estate market. And I kind of want to give, I know I hit this every time, but it's just because if you haven't figured this out by now, it's just don't trust what the headlines are telling you. Because there's two things that happen. One is they're trying to sell a paper or trying to get you to click. But the other thing is they're looking at, they're averaging out everything over the nation and trying to make a guess. And that's just not what's happening in a lot of individual markets. And some of the bigger markets, what's happening there affects the overall numbers for the nation just because they're bigger markets. So they can make things look worse than they are, even though it might just be a few metro areas that are having issues while the rest of us are not. So what do I mean by that? Well, this is what you've seen probably recently with U.S. housing, everything saying U.S. housing prices are plunging all over the place. They may fall as much as 20%, and things are going crazy. Well, nationally, they only had, this was a Case-Shiller index. They only had through January, but if you look through January, year over year appreciation in the top 20 cities, only four we're seeing declines. Everybody else, we're still seeing price appreciation. Now, obviously, at a much slower pace than it has been the previous year or the year before that, but only really the West Coast areas, Portland, San Diego, San Francisco, Seattle, we're seeing price declines. And a lot of that, as you'll find out later, is just because of what's going on in the tech industry. And this is Selma Hepp, chief economist for CoreLogic, and it's saying declines in the West are simply due to the tech industry slowdown and a severe lack of affordability after decades of undersupply. You think right around Silicon Valley, what somebody can buy here for 400,000 probably cost closer to 2 million in Silicon Valley. So you got to keep those type of perspectives in mind. And if you look at year over year price appreciation, this breaks it down into different areas of the country. I think for purposes of their regions, we are either the South Atlantic or the Middle Atlantic. I'm not sure. Everybody has their own way of breaking the country up into many pieces. So we're at one or the other. But you can see it's still pretty healthy through January, 6% or 9.6%, with a national rate of 5.3%. So as you can see, even nationally, we're not seeing 20% price declines. And this is a quote from a CNBC article by Diana Olick. And she's saying, while mortgage rates were the driving factor for the price turnaround nationally, tight supply is adding to the upward pressure on prices, especially with new spring demand from buyers. So buyers are coming out ready to look at homes, and they're finding out there's still not a whole lot of homes to look at. So that's what's keeping prices up, regardless of where the mortgage rates are at. It's simply because there's just not enough homes out there to purchase. Simple supply versus demand. And Andy Walden with Black Knight said the unfortunate reality is that the scarce supply of inventory that's the source of so much market gridlock isn't getting any better. We're not seeing it get any better here locally either. So let's look at our local market right here in the Tri-Cities. So if you look at March, March our listings were the number of new listings in the market was down just slightly, 0.4% from March of last year, up slightly from March of 21. Our active listing count is up 46%. But while that sounds like a big number, I'll show you why it's not. And up 24% from 2 years ago. Sold listings are down 19% from last March and 22% from the previous March, while our inventory is up 72%. And the median sales price is up 5% from last year and 27% from 2021. Now you see that inventory and you go, oh, that's up 72%, but you have to realize it's only 1.7 months. So if you go from half of a month to 1.5 months, That's a huge percentage, but you really haven't moved the needle that far. Um, and so what I mean by that is what's considered a balanced market as far as that inventory or absorption rate number is 6 months. Um, we're nowhere near that. We're at 1.7 months, which is deep um, seller's market territory. So what that means is at 6 months, essentially you have one home for every buyer that's out looking to purchase a home. As you start getting lower than 6 months inventory, you start having more buyers than you have homes on the market. And where we're just barely below 2 months, we have way more buyers than we have homes on the market to purchase. Now the other is true that too. The higher you go from 6 months, at 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, that means you have more homes on the market than there are buyers to purchase them. But that is not where we are right now. If you look at the first quarter, you can see that in the first 3 months of the year, our new listings hitting the market for sale is down about 1.4%. So not a huge number, but it is down. Our active listing count, though last month it looked so much higher, really so far, if you put the 3 months together, we're only up about 9%. So only about 9% more homes for sale during the first quarter of this year than last year. Our number of sales is down 24%. But again, we're coming down from the peak. So instead of where we had 5 or 6 buyers for every home that was on the market, we're down to maybe 2 buyers or 3 buyers for every home that's for sale on the market. So while that number looks big, we are still short homes to sell, which is why you still see the median sales price moving up and also the median list price moving up. So the median sales price is up 6.5%, median list price is up 22%. I think that's because there's still a lot of sellers that think we're in 2021, where they can ask whatever they want to and people will pay for it, and we're not, which is why we're seeing price reductions happen to get them back down to market value. And you can see our days on market is creeping up as well. It's only 4%. I think we're 3 or 4 days higher than we were the previous years. So, but again, when we look at active listings, okay, yes, we have more than we had last year, but we're still at the bottom of the graph. So 2023 is the orange line. It's just barely above 2021 and 2022 levels. We still haven't even reached pre-pandemic inventory. And the red line is the balance, is what would be a 6-month supply. We're nowhere near that. So we've got a lot of ground to make up if you want to start seeing a lot of these huge price declines and stuff that the national media is talking about. And if you look at sold listings, we're trending right along pre-pandemic numbers, which were pretty good. 2019 was a really good year that we thought, man, the market can't get any better than this. Well, then 2020, 2021, and 2022 happened. So even though we've gone back pre-pandemic, that was still at a time in our local market where it was hot. And pending listings are following right along 2019 and 2020 numbers as well. So again, that's just kind of gone back down to the pre-pandemic levels. If you look at the number of new listings on the market, this is what tells you why we're not seeing huge increases in the number of inventory. Because if you look at that graph, we don't really have wild fluctuations in the number of new listings entering the market. It pretty much follows a very close cyclical pattern that doesn't seem to change much in our market. At least it hasn't over the last 5 years that have gone in this graph or in this graphic. But 2020 was the only exception because right there in April is when they shut down the whole country. So obviously there was a dip there, but you saw it very quickly came back up to the normal seasonal average of homes entering our market for sale. But again, the average sales price from 2019 is up 55%. So that's 55% home appreciation in the last 4 years. So even if we see a 5% decline in our pricing for our local market, we've still gained we've still gained a ton of equity over the last several years. And it would just put us basically back down to where home prices were last year. a 5% decrease in home prices is not going to crash our market. It basically just puts it at a flat level where we won't see home price appreciation this year. We might have to wait till next year to see it. But as you can see, we've been up so far in this first quarter compared to 2022. So we'll have to see where the year ends like that. But so far, there's still home price appreciation going on. And you can see it here. January home prices were up 17.1%, February 14.3%, March a much slower 4.9%. But you can see back in December when rates went up, we had prices were only up 4.6%, but then it jumped again. So, we'll just have to wait and see, but still there's no negative numbers on that graph. So we can pretty much do a short video for you today, because the bottom line is, while March ended a 3-month decline in inventory levels, because we saw starting in December declining inventory, and we're still close to 3,000 homes short of what would be considered a balanced market. So our local sellers market is stubbornly persistent, and pretty much mortgage rates and the number of new listings entering the market seems to be the throttle for home sales this year. And then I put a bullet point in and forgot what I was going to put there, but it's something Josh said, so I'll let Josh kind of bottom line it from the mortgage side.
Yeah, I'd say, guys, at some point in time, the good news is that we should see declines in rates, them coming back down. We don't know when that time frame is or what all that's going to look like. The Feds can change that at any moment, whether we like it or not. But I feel like we have plateaued, and we are at a place where we don't have to worry about sticker shock anymore. We don't have to worry about what the what ifs are. I think we have a pretty good understanding of the market that we're in and letting it play out. So, now is still a good time to buy a home. This year is still a good time to buy a home. We're going to do whatever it takes to get you in the right loan program, and make sure you get taken care of and find a home. Inventory is still a little bit low, but that doesn't mean that the home that you're looking for is not out there, right? So, or it doesn't mean that it won't come on the market at the right time. And if you're pre-qualified and ready to go, and it comes on at the right time, you've got an opportunity to put in an offer right there in that moment. So a lot of good things, out there that are happening. So, has it been a rough market? Yes. Since summer of last year, things started going downhill pretty quick.
Yes.
Not in a positive light, but we're starting to see things level out and work to our favor. And so I think moving forward, we're going to see things continue to drop as far as rates. And I think homes at some point in time should hopefully start to build up and be readily available for buyers. It all just depends on how many people continue to move to this market. So, but people moving to the market's a positive thing. It means it's a good place to live, and people see value in it, and that's why I want to move here. So, but lots of good things ahead of us as we continue to move forward. So
yeah, well, and I think the other side of that is you do see kind of a flurry of activity anytime there's a big dip in market and interest rates, because buyers are like, well, if I get something under contract this week, I can lock in this week's interest rate.
Right.
But I do think that psychologically and mentally, buyers have sort of priced in the mortgage rates where they're at into their psyche, so that they're not freaking out because there's no longer 2.5% interest rates, which there's never been a 2.5% interest rate in the history of that I know of, except for when it happened in the last 2-3 years ago. So I think people are like, okay, they're kind of getting it that this is normal. I know most of the buyers I've worked with, and one that Josh and I have worked with together, he basically said the rate is what it is. If it drops in the next 6 months, I'll just refinance to whatever that lower rate is. But the other thing is, because there's less competition out there overall, you're not having to worry about what loan type you're getting and whether that's going to affect your ability to buy a house. Because when everything was getting a dozen offers, Certain loan types like FHA, VA, USDA loans, sellers were kind of just shoving those ones off to
Yeah.
the side and only looking at conventional loans or cash offers. And even the conventional loans, if they had somebody that was putting 10% down versus somebody that was putting 30, 40, or 50% down, then they were moving closer to those ones that were putting large
Right.
lumps down on the loan. Whereas now you're seeing VA buyers with getting 100% financing, getting homes without problems. And you're seeing other people being able to look at several homes and make a decision and then put an offer in on the one that they want and then getting that one. Now, there are still certain price ranges and certain communities in our area that are very competitive that,
Yeah.
one buyer, we took us 3 tries to finally win a bidding war to get him into a house. But then I've had other buyers where there was nobody else bidding on the home.
Yeah.
So it's there's little microcosms in our market where it's still highly competitive and others where it's not. And I think that'll probably persist for a while.
Yeah. 180 to 350. You're not going to be the only one interested.
No,
I'll tell
you're
you
not. No, you're
that.
not. You get over 350, it starts getting a little less competitive. But
Yeah.
and if you find a home that's right at 300,000, there's going to be a lot of bidders, and you better hurry and get an
Yeah.
offer fast. But that does mean it's opened up more homes for buyers and more opportunities for buyers to get into a home that they actually like, not just
Right.
that they could win.
Right.
So those are some good things. Bringing normalcy back to the real estate market is a good thing. Don't think of it as a bad thing.
100%.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all I got. You got anything else, Josh?
That's all I've got as well. Appreciate
Okay.
everybody's time today.
Appreciate it. Our releasings, I know I kind of just like really skimmed fastly through a lot of these graphics and data because it's much the same. But what I will do is post some of those on my social media channels. So if you really want to look at them, you'll have a better opportunity than just trying to hit pause and look at them in the video. But Josh, appreciate your time as always. I look forward to doing these every month, and I hope that you out there watching these look forward to these every month, that it gives you some really good insight to what's going on locally, which can help you in your home search, or if you're considering your home sale. And I will add in there, if you are in that situation, looking to purchase a home and you're not pre-qualified yet, give Josh a call. He would love to talk to you about the mortgage process and see what he can do for you. I'd love to talk to you about representing you and helping you get into that home that you're looking for. If you're looking to sell a home, obviously I'd love to talk to you too. But as always, we try to give you the most up-to-date information on the local level that we can. And that's pretty much it for this month. So I think we'll just see you next month.
Thank you guys so much.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you again.